mean, let's go. Hey, what's going on, mi gente? This is Jose Brado Jr., your real estate one-stop shop, and this is another episode of a Little Bit About Everything podcast. We're finally back, and today I have really just the honor and just the absolute pleasure of having just someone that I really really look up to. And I'm not gonna steal his thunder, so I'll let him introduce himself, and then we'll go from there.
Oh man, what's up, everybody? Luis Omar Figueroa, Hudson Group, HDR on Capital, HDR on Commercial Lending, HDR on Real Estate, HDR on Media, HDR on everything. You know what I'm saying? I put a little bit of HDR on everything. Yeah, I think you should let the people know that the way we met was that you saw a video of mine.
Yes.
I was talking about some real estate that I own.
Yeah, so as a matter of fact, it was pretty cool because we actually were talking about because I kind of figured you're from like the New York area, and like the video that I originally saw where and I seen maybe like one or two. It seems like you do quite a bit in the Springfield area. So want to lead off with that, like what projects you got going on out there? How did you kind of get into that market, being from where you're at in New York?
So for about 7 years ago, a good friend of mine was looking to make a move from. He was an appraisal. He had an appraisal company, and he had some money and wanted to invest. So he was looking at two markets. He was looking at Connecticut, and he was looking at Springfield, Massachusetts. And there was a deal in Connecticut we tried to do. I was the lender on the deal for him, and for some reason it just didn't work. It was like a condo conversion. It was supposed to, if the condo conversion didn't get approved, then it wouldn't really make sense to do the deal. So then we started looking at Springfield. He goes down to Springfield. We do the first deal. He buys it. It goes well, right? 12 months later, it goes really well. And what happens is, as you become a landlord, whatever territory you go to, if you're a serious dude, people will find you, right? So one of the deals, we were talking off camera before, the first deal that I got into in 2021, was a deal that we were the real estate broker on the deal and lender on the deal. We weren't the buyer. The buyer had some personal reasons at almost at the finish line where he couldn't close the deal. And me and three of my friends got together. We were talking about it. The agent on the deal, the guy who owns the other properties and stuff like that. And he was like, "Hey man, this appraisal came in at $2 million already. We're buying 1.6. It cash, so we're making money the day we close.
Yeah.
We got to make this happen, guys." I hadn't even looked at the deal. And he was like, "Yo, I need you to be on this deal." And I'm like, "Yo," he's like, "Yo, just." And this is how you talk to friends, right? Like, and I want to say that because you might have friends like that eventually that will approach you this way. He's like, "Yo, I'm putting you on this deal. This deal is too good. You cannot pass this deal up." So I was like, "All right." So I sent part of my money, and then I said, "Yo, can I see the appraisal? Yo, can I see the income and expenses on the property?" So like that's really how that deal went. He was like, "What you need to see that for?" He was playing, obviously, but it was that type of trust, right? It was that type of trust between friends. And that's how I got into my first deal. We closed it, and I think there was a 1031 exchange that was gonna expire. A 1031 exchange is a way you can defer capital gains taxes when you sell a property. So if we didn't close by December 31st, which we actually closed on December 31st, 2021, it wouldn't have made sense for the seller. He might have backed out the deal. And we already knew, looking under the hood, we were walking into the property making $400,000 to $500,000 the day we closed. So we had to make it happen. And we made it happen.
That's awesome, man. And one thing that you mentioned is actually, kind of leading into this particular question as well, about the myths about the industry, right? So, and
right.
we were talking about
that. We're talking about the no money down. And listen, if we get banned after this episode, it is what it is. Like Grant Cardone is selling dreams out there. Grant Cardone doesn't go into the syndication part that he makes money on. He just tells people that barely, and I'm saying this with all respect to everybody, just do due diligence, right? And don't just throw your money at something blindly and expect to make 1,000% on 2,500. I think his minimum investment is 2,500. To me, it doesn't even make sense. Like, what you would make on 2,500 is like $16 or whatever. And money is money. And if you're aware of that and you're okay with that, that's okay. But just don't think you're going to put in 2,500 and get $250,000 back. It just doesn't work that way. And there's a process and there's steps to everything in business. And I just, the reason I wanted to do this with you also You'll probably see me in Mass more. We're getting a license in Mass soon. We'll be buying more buildings there, and then we'll probably do business down there with you and I. So I want people to know that it's all possible within scale. And like if you're working with whatever number, 5,000, 10,000, then look at a project that's within that scale. You know what I'm saying? Like luckily I got a group of people together, and we put 25% up each or whatever, and that's how we're able to get into these bigger numbers. Because for me, it's economy of scale. Owning a 50 unit to me is cheaper in the long run than owning 51 families.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, but that's a conversation that we can dive into in another episode about economy of scale, which is something that might not be for everybody who's not maybe sophisticated enough to understand that.
No, and again, that's definitely yeah, it's definitely a very sophisticated topic, but one that honestly, including myself, a lot of us in the industry should definitely get a little bit more familiar with, just because, like you said, there's a lot of hoopla out there, where, and again, I'm not talking
Say whatever you
about
want, bro. It's
anybody,
okay with your show.
you know what I mean? But as far as you mentioned, like the Grant Cardones of this world and things like that, like, hey man, I personally would never, you know, spend a dime on something
Right.
like that, but people do, and I know of some folks that the whole 10x thing, and then and that's really gone great for them, and more power to them. But I think this particular route is just more realistic, and is honestly, I'm a very more of a mellow kind of person versus the super energetic type. So now, as far as this particular how long you been in the industry for, first and foremost?
That's a great question, bro. I was talking about this the other day. I've been in this game since '04, and I was recruited into the lending game before the meltdown. I was recruited into the lending game, or actually the speculation game, by a guy who owned a bank, and he needed to get access to the South Bronx. And back then, '04, the South Bronx was rough, and only Spanish and black guys were doing any business down there. And he was Jewish, so he needed somebody.
Oh, okay.
He needed the complexion for protection, as I call it. And yeah, no. So I mean, again, I went to NYU, right? I owned a liquor store, I owned a nightclub, I owned different industries. But I didn't know anything about real estate, and I didn't know anything about financing, and I don't know anything about leveraging, and I don't know anything about percentage points on big numbers.
Yeah.
So he sat me down. So I'm like, listen, this is what I do. I have a business, I have various businesses, and I make a certain amount of money. Why would I focus my energy on your thing where I'm making money on my thing? And he sat me down. He broke it down for me. He was like, look, man, I'll pay you. This is direct, one-to-one. I'll pay you 6% on anything we buy, 6% of the sales price. So I'm mentally taking all this down, and I'm like, oh, word? Okay, so then I'm doing the math, right? And we do our first deal
Whoa.
within 2 months, because he's buying them severely distressed. And then we do another deal 2 months later. Then he owns a bank, right? A mortgage bank. So he kind of invites me to the bank, and I kind of walk in, and I speak Spanish and English, right? But unlike some of us where, I'll give you an example. There's 100 loan officers there. There was one Latino named Carlos, not being racist, I'm just being honest. And, he was like the El Salvadorian Spanish guy, right? Like his English was horrible. So here I am speaking both vernaculars very well. So I was like, all right, so I'm a little more polished than some of these guys. And, I'm looking, it was just a different language, right? I'm looking at this right now. I was doing numbers. It's just numbers and vernacular. That's all it is. And then, so he's like, you should give this a try. He asked me, like, how much do you make? He's like, try this, but you got to come in, you got to immerse yourself. You're very intelligent. You go, people, try this. And so let's just use an example of, at the store, I was grossing, let's say, $150,000 a year. Then you take all the expenses out, and you're paying everybody maybe making 80. I went over there. I started September, the fourth quarter, October, November, December, and I made like 110 in a quarter.
Wow.
Now it was W-2, but I was like, wait, my math was simple. I was like, yo,
Money's money, though.
I do this 4 quarters. I'm doing $400,000 in a year,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm out. So I sold everything. I didn't like sell it for top dollar. I liquidated my store. I just got out, and I focused on what I thought my future would be. And then going forward into after the meltdown and stuff like that, I started seeing the conventional financing world being a little more restrictive. and I saw a big play to me in the non-QM commercial hard money world. So, and on top of that, so I started doing that, right? Because the numbers made more sense for me. And then I get a call from one of the banks. They're like, hey, listen, if you want to do your loans, because I do what's called correspondent lending. I sell I close in my name, I sell it to a bank.
Okay.
They're like, if you want to continue doing that, you have to get your real estate broker license. So I was like, oh shit, okay. So
Okay.
I became an agent, and back then short sales were everywhere. So I did like 20 short sales in a year because I had to.
Yeah.
And then boom, I got that. And then now I have the hard money platform, the capital platform, and the real estate platform. And we have a resi platform that we're starting to configure now that we'll be able to funnel over. So yeah.
Damn, bro.
Gotta stay busy, baby.
It's amazing, man.
Gotta
No,
stay
no,
busy.
I'm that's what I'm telling you, man. Like I honestly, just obviously, have a very kind of bird's eye view of what you're doing. This is why it's cool that we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could tell from the get go, man. Like you just, the work ethic. It just, you're an admirable person in general, as far as how you approach a business. But it's crazy how you went from owning a nightclub and a
Yeah.
store, because usually, I mean, obviously I'm Latino too.
Yeah.
Man, that's like the dream, right? They're owning a nightclub, bro. Like,
It is. It is not good for a marriage, and it's not good for raising kids because you miss a lot of the daytime. Because
that's true.
remember, I had the other business that needed
Yeah.
attention too. So it was tough. And I find myself, I was telling my son the other day, I was like, you never know where you're going to be led to. You never know.
Yeah.
You think this is it. You think I made it, right? Like on a Saturday night when the Tito Trinidad fight happened, this is way back when we made $10,000 after everything. I was like, wow, we're rich. And then I get introduced to a whole other industry, and I'm like, yo, that's a Saturday, or that's a deal. That's one deal. Like, I don't have to deal with the drunk people. I don't have to deal with this. I don't deal with that. I could just, do your business,
No, especially New
get
York,
checks.
man. Especially
Well, New York, right. Because the
it's
other states are different. Other states are different.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's funny because like me, obviously, obviously, people when they're inebriated, drunk is drunk, regardless. But
Yeah.
New York
Drunk is
is
drunk.
definitely a different beast. Now, so you went from, again, just kind of being an entrepreneur, which you are now, obviously, but totally different thing. So from that point
Yeah.
until now, Lewis, like, what's the one thing that that you didn't expect to learn, or that maybe you didn't expect to kind of, that you didn't foresee, that this venture has kind of taught you and done for you?
Well, I think one of the things I never thought would happen would, I mean, I own 71 units now, right? Which is back in 04, 05, I was like, yo, is that possible? Right? Like I owned a two-family with my mom. I thought I made it. And then as you keep rising, going up the stairs, you see there's a landing, but then you look to your left and there's another set of stairs. That's the analogy I use. You can keep going. And my goal at the end will be to have a fund where I'll be lending my own money, $100,000 a month in residual income from cash flow. I've also invested in some fintech. So if that pops out, Modi app, shout out, shameless plug. So I diversify, but the one thing I know that most people should know is that they got to keep doing what they're good at. While that stuff kind of ferments and kind of does what it bubbles, you can't stop and watch it. You got to keep going. You got to keep going and keep accumulating. I know it sounds corny, but a lot of people would say, "Oh, I did that. I should wait." I'm like, "What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? You only have 24 hours a day, and like, oh, you make more money. That's a bad problem. Like, and if you have more money, more people you can help, right?
Absolutely.
So that becomes the thing, right? It's that, especially as a Latino, like I'm the patriarch of my family. I have my mom, my wife, my kids, my immediate family, and I have big family in Pennsylvania. I have family in Massachusetts, like, and like they look for me not so much for financial, but also sometimes they call me just for advice. And it's our absolute. I told my son this morning, so I'm gonna say it again. It is our absolute responsibility to help the guys behind us. If you're able to go forward, for the guys who didn't get the chance, for the guys who may have, God forbid, they had like some crazy disease, whatever, like whatever, for whatever reason they can't get up in the morning, and you can, it is your absolute duty to show out for them, because people actually are happy. Like if people are limited, they can appreciate, right? They can appreciate somebody else who's doing it. Like it's like I think Hassan Minaj said it best when he said, when you don't want to and you can't, when you don't want to becomes you can't, everything changes because like now you can't. Now it's like I don't feel like it. No, now it's like, yo, you can't do that. And you're like,
Yeah,
damn,
yeah, it's
I
very
want that, right? Like,
yeah.
and I believe that. I believe that.
No, that's actually a very, but it's actually a very, very good point. And it is true, I think that, you know, like in our culture is a very common thing to say, bird in one hand is better than 99 in the air, right? So, if we while we're trying to establish whatever it is that we're trying to do, I think it's a good point that we need to continue to just kind of focus on what we're good at, and then as long as that as these things start coming to fruition, then of course the better, right? We'll be able to help more people. Now, with that, in your opinion, Lewis, like what is the most important, I guess, character trait or just personality trait um that someone should at least try to develop or continue to hone in on in order to find success in our business, especially with the way things have shifted now over the past couple of years and even recently, right? What's the one character trait that you feel is super, it's like it's vital for anyone to continue to do this? You've been doing it for almost 20 years now, right? So,
Yeah, thanks. Make me an old head. I appreciate that.
To continue to be, just
I
continue.
think I think that whatever your method is, right? If you believe in it, if you truly believe in it, it will work, right? Like, and when I first started, I believe, and maybe it's because I'm Latino, and Latinos need a lot more education.
Yep. Yep.
I would become not just their loan officer. I would become like their financial advisor. They'd be like, "Yo, I want to buy this car. Yo, my son is doing it." Like, And I remember, and this is a real conversation I had with the owner of the company one time, who was Italian Jewish. He's like, "Yo, you're being too nice to them. You're being too friendly. That you closed their deal already. You should move forward." And I said to him, I was like, "Yo, it's not about just the deal for me. It's about the relationship because." Latinos especially have big families. Like if you treat one guy right, and I said, they don't shop you, right? They don't, they rock with you. They your dudes. They be like, yo, Figueroa. That becomes the thing. I get called Figueroa. Like, I know who
Absolutely.
sent you already. I know who sent you already
Absolutely.
because I know the way you talk about it. So I was like, yo, I believe in that. And maybe if I didn't do it that way earlier, maybe I would have got a lot more faster commission checks, right? For example, because I'm burning through people. But what happens on the swing of that, on the upside of that, is that as you invest in people, the dividend starts coming. People start calling you. You don't have to call out. So in 04, 05, 06, 07, 08, it was a lot because everybody qualified. Mortgages were new, and everybody was like, before the meltdown, everybody was just pulling money out and buying cars and pulling money out. Right. So you would call and people would always be ready. And then the meltdown happened, and then nobody qualified. And then we had to become very creative with full doc loans because before it was all stated status, stated no
Yep.
stated income
Yep.
asset. Like every type of acronym you can make to make a loan, they made it. And then you had now the true connoisseurs or the true business guys had to knuckle up and be like, all right, how am I going to figure this out, right? And I do that even now. Like I have clients that come to me for deals, and I'm like, listen, this will work if we do this, this, and this. Are you willing to do that? And because if you're not, it just won't work, and that's okay. And they're like, yo, yeah, I'll do it. And what I'm talking about, just be very clear with you, coaching a client, hey, you need to have assets in your account for 60 days. I know you have them in the mattress. I know you have them in the little rice bowl. I know you have it behind the Santa Maria. Put it in your bank for 2 months. Then come back. Then we'll close. Then you can take it back out. And to me, that's coaching. That's not. I don't think we're doing anything
Absolutely.
wrong because the money's there. It's just I understand. Do you know about Susu money?
Claro, hermano, ven acá, of course.
You get it, right? So like there's a whole bunch of things. When you talk about different cultures, there's a whole bunch of different ways of traditionally saving money.
Yeah.
And you just got to be able to educate them. Hey man, look, this is what we got to do. Oh, I don't know. I was like, listen, yes or no. That's the only way it's going. So like, and you don't have to be a jerk about it, but you have to be firm because somebody
Absolutely.
will push you. They'll push you until you say, hey man, can't do it no more. We're done. Then all of a sudden, if you notice, it'll change. Or if you tell them, all right, and you kind of be too nice, then they go to somebody else, and somebody else says, hey man, you got to do this and this. All of a sudden, they listen to them and they get a deal closed. They come back and they're like, yo, everything you told me, I did it. And you're like, okay, and you close with somebody else. No big deal, but at least for the future, hey man, I gotta be more firm, right? These are all lessons.
I'm actually going through that right now, man. It's like, it's the most frustrating thing in the whole wide world. But I mean, I get it. You know, it's it's not personal. It just is what it is.
No, it's never personal. And sometimes it's just the person making the actually giving the message. Like if
Yeah,
they look at you as
yeah,
their friend and maybe not so much as a professional, you
yeah,
gotta, hey man, listen,
yeah.
look, I get it, but this is what it is. And you just gotta be firm. I mean, some in the beginning of my career, of course I was scared because like the interaction between you and client, because you don't have a lot of clients, you always kept it like kind of a certain way because you don't, God forbid, you won't lose that client, right? But
Absolutely.
as years go by and you continually add on, add on, add on, I tell my client, yo, this is what it is. Jose or Carlos or Juan or John or Anthony, anybody, any of the clients, but this is what it has to be. If you want to close, this is what it has to be. If you can't do it, don't waste my time. I love you. If you want to go somewhere else, they're gonna tell you the same thing. You can come back. Don't have an ego about it. Just understand what I told you. And if you want to close somebody else, go ahead. And you say it in a way where it's just a respect of my professionalism. It's not a personal thing, right? Like, listen, this is what I do for a living. If I wanted to cook food at a restaurant, I'd ask you. If I wanted to give you examples, do upholstery on the furniture. If I wanted to do, doctor clients I have, if I wanted to see what was wrong with me, I come see you. That's not what we're here for. We're here. I'm telling you how to do this, right? You want to qualify for $5 million house. This is what you have to look like.
I'm the surgeon around here.
Right. There you go. There you go. Yeah.
You know,
I'm the captain. I'm the
exactly.
captain.
I'm the captain
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
and
exactly.
and so actually, I wanted to ask you something too, because I think it was yesterday or the day before you posted something with regards to, I think it's either like pass or perform, man, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
You like that one?
Yeah, that was actually
No, no.
you know,
It's perform or pass. Yeah, but
perform or
yeah, that's
pass.
it.
Sorry, but yeah. So if you could just dive a little bit, a little bit more into that, because I thought that was actually, I mean, it's a simple thought, but it's actually pretty profound because it's true. Like, what I mean, so if you could just
Yeah.
dive a little bit more into it, that would be awesome.
All right, I'll talk about perform or pass because it was actually from a deal I did. It was a co-op deal. You guys don't have co-ops in Mass, right?
That I'm aware of, no, no, I don't think so.
Okay, so
Actually,
co-ops are
I'm
you
pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
co-ops
we
I
don't.
think
Yeah,
are I think
well, it's
they're
like a
a
New York thing, like a strictly New York thing. Yeah,
a specific thing, right? New York thing. So co-ops are a form of ownership, not like condominiums where you own a stock certificate, right? You don't own the actual property. But co-ops have an overlay of you got to get the financials. The client has to be approved by the board. Even if they're approved for the loan, they're not approved by the board. They can't buy the house, right? There's a lot of little things to it.
yep,
And
yep.
I took this one deal from my friend, the realtor. I'm not going to say his name, but if he sees this story, he's going to know it's him. And it was like $150,000 co-op, whatever it was. You do the math. It wasn't for the money. And then the client was hitting me for certain things. I was telling, hey man, you got like he was a newbie. And I was explaining, hey, this is the way you do it. Da, 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 da. And finally, I was like, listen, guy, either you listen to me or you go somewhere else. I can't do this. I was like, not only is the fee on this deal nothing, because I have a team of like 8 people. I was like, I'm doing you a solid. So either you're gonna listen to me and I'm gonna close your deal, or you're gonna go somewhere else. And he was like, no, I fuck with you, I love you, da da da, Louis, tú eres mejor. But I was like, so okay, so here we are. This is it. I'm performing. Let's go, let's close. So while I was saying that to me, actually, the therapy, like, yo, man, next time, maybe just say, yo, I don't do those. I can't help you because either you close it or you don't. They're gonna talk about you anyway.
Correct, correct.
Yeah. So either you man up, even though it's not about the money, but it's about professionalism at that point. You perform or pass, because if you don't perform, that little damaging one client who didn't get his transaction done will resonate within the universe. And, nobody will know the details, but they'll understand that, oh, he couldn't do it. Right.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. No, that's actually
And
pretty.
this industry is all about performance.
Yep, and that's actually pretty cool because I mean, like you said, like once you actually decide to do it, it's kind of too late to be like, I don't really, like I don't know if I want, I mean, that should have been a conversation to be had, but I did find that, like very, very compelling because like, like for example, like in my case where I'm a little, obviously I did a lot smaller numbers than you do, like, but even
Numbers
then,
and
like,
numbers, bro.
No, thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, but it's like, you know, but even I'm like, man, $150,000, you know, you know, the work that goes into just kind of closing a deal is just like worth my time, you know. But if I say
commit, right? Either you commit. Yep, there you go. There you go. But that, bro, that discipline, if you master it, because I want to go into something else real quick.
go ahead, man.
How everybody, the new generation wants motivation. They want to be motivated, right? And I'm like, okay, motivation.
Here we go.
Motivation's cool, right? But consistency and discipline are the difference between the 1% and the 99%. Because if I have to go somewhere for motivation constantly, there's something that you're not doing within. It doesn't come from the external. It comes from the internal. So if you can go to Motivate or Tony Robbins or whoever you want to go to, and you know, maybe he'll unlock a thinking for you, I respect that. But if you got to go every 2 months, bro, look in the mirror, bro. Ladies and gentlemen, there's something else going on.
Bro, I said that in a group one time on this app called Clubhouse. I said a very similar
thing to
what you just said. I love it. I love it. I'm on there. By the way, you know, speaking of shameless plugs, a big shout out to my boy Chris and DeWang, and the Real Estate All Day group, club. But
Real Estate All Day, I like that.
Yeah, you know, bro, it's amazing, bro. Every morning from 7 to 9, like I usually don't miss it. But it wasn't that club. It was something completely different. And you know, I made the point, like, yo, you know, motivation is fleeting. You know, because motivation is actually
very well said.
Feeling. It's a feeling. So, for example, like if you know, if you're someone like me who sometimes, you know, struggles with my state of mind or whatever the case may be, but I rely on feeling motivated, man. You know, if I don't,
what am I doing?
You know what I'm saying? Like if that day I wake up and the chemical imbalance in my brain that I'm not feeling good, like that whole day is gone if I'm gonna rely on how I feel to be motivated. However, if I get up and I'm gonna be like, I'm going to do this today, I'm gonna have, even if it's a struggle to get it done, you know, it doesn't matter, you know. But at the end of the day, like you said, is that the consistency and that discipline. But man, I said that in a group, bro, and I almost like, thank God it was on an app and it wasn't alive. Dude, bro, I'm like, whoa, what did I say? I'm like, but I mean, it's the truth though, you know what I mean? I can't look at it from any other way, but so I'm actually glad you said that.
Oh yeah, and I'll give you another one. Like I was talking to another friend of mine yesterday, and I said that small minds cannot accept big ideas. So what I mean by that is, you know, you might have plans, you might have goals and aspirations, right? Yep. And then if you're hanging out with a certain I think Tyler Perry said it well. Some people are there for a season, not for your whole life, right? Yeah. So my homeboys from high school, I don't have one friend from high school. Shout out to them. No offense. I just was going somewhere else. I was going somewhere else, and they weren't going with me. They you know, they wanted to do something else, and that's cool. No judgment. I went. I did my thing. Out of college, maybe let's say I'm just using arbitrary numbers, 60, 70 people I met in college. Maybe I have 2 or 3 friends I can call right now that I talk to that are all doing fantastic things in different industries, but we all have that one trait in common, was like, we don't give a fuck. It just became a thing. So you asked me, what's the one thing people should look at? Whatever you think is going to work will work for you because you believe in it. But be self-accountable. Like if you're not willing to do that work, you got to be real with yourself. Some guys use accountability clubs and all that. And
yep.
That's cool. If that's what it needs to take you. To me, my accountability is my family, my team. Like I have people that, you know, their livelihoods depend on me. That's a big weight. That's something I take very seriously. Absolutely. And I use this quote all the time. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? Yep. You want to be on top, you got to be ready. I might not get paid this month. They getting paid. You know, whatever happens, like, you know, like 1 month you make 300,000, 1 month you make 0. It could go that way. But you got to be ready for that. And some people say they're ready until they get hit in the face one time, and all of a sudden everything changes, right? Everything changes. You know, they're like, oh, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to do this. You know, and I was telling my team the other day, I was like, listen, if you're working on a deal, like I have loan officers, I have realtors, I have different teammates. I said, if you're working on a deal, I just need to know what position I'm playing for you. If the client's a little too like one guy's pretty brand new, If he's a little more advanced than you, let me take lead. You still get paid. Let me take lead. So make sure everything's answered, blah, 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 all that stuff. If you need me just to be the underwriter to get bad news, I'll play that position. If you need me to be the mop-up guy to make sure you're on vacation, one of my guys was on vacation last week and he had a deal closed, and I had to make sure that his wires came in and, like all the checks were cut and stuff like that. I'm cool with that. Just let me know what I have to play. I was like, there's no ego involved here.
Absolutely.
We can all make it. But that's hard. That's hard because a lot of guys in the younger, and not my guys, shout out to Mike and Orlando, I love you guys. A lot of younger guys have an ego problem with playing a 2 or playing a 3 or playing a 4. If that's what your position is in the company, then be a monster at that position.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
And maybe, some people might look at this podcast and be like, hey, man, you're talking from a state of privilege. Yo, bro, I earned this shit. Like this HRN shit, I created that 2012, established 2012. You can look me up. I didn't have any workers. It was just me. And we grew. So you can do it too, but you got to have the right mindset. You have the right attitude, right? Perspective is everything. So if you think walk in and be like, yo, I'm the best. Okay, if nobody knows you, what does that matter? Prove you're the best and build on that. Like I was telling one of my guys, he went to Manhattan on Sunday, and he went to do an inspection of a property. And I'm like, yo, I need you to do a story or a boomerang or something, let people know, because people won't think of you and this is advice for you too. People won't think of you until you illustrate it to them what it is you do. And you have to make it so kind of crystal clear and easy to understand that then it'll resonate. Right? Like if you're doing inspections in Manhattan, there might be somebody in Manhattan needs a loan and be like, yo, oh shit, I didn't know you did Manhattan. I'm like, it's a fucking borough within New York City. I do 50 states in lending. Like, come on. But it gets that crazy in terms of how granular you have to get, or granular you have to be with your media,
social media. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be very, very precise. Everything has to be purposeful. People think I just talk shit all day. No, I'm talking about certain things. That piece of content hit you. That piece of content was therapy for me. That piece of content was therapy for me because I'm like, yo, because I'm like, oh, it's fucking deal. I say, yo, fuck shit. Yo, don't be a little girl. Do your thing. Finish. Yo, because like I said, motivation's fleeting, right? Like you said.
Absolutely.
That's where the discipline kicks in. Yo, shut up. Don't look at the numbers. Get it done. And that's what I did.
No, that's awesome, man. And I gotta tell you, so speaking of like social media, one of my colleagues that I just mentioned, Juan Alcala, he's from Tampa. One of the things that he says all the time is, out of sight, out of mind. Top of mind, tip of tongue, right? So the more, you don't want to like overwhelm people or annoy people, right? But again, there's always like a fine line between, but the point is, the more people see you, the more people know what you do. Like sometimes I'm ashamed of myself. Not really. I mean, yeah, but it's like, how can people not know what I do? Now granted, to be fair, I spent the last 10 years as I have an insurance background. And so I spent the last 10, 11 years, promoting myself as, your neighborhood friendly insurance agent. And now I make a transition to the mortgage industry. And it's like, understandably so, like people are like, oh, wait, what? You know what I mean? So I know it's going to take some time, but at the end of the day, like, at the end of the day, it's like, but it's really on me. Like you said, same with your, with your guys, if you're doing an inspection wherever, Manhattan, whatever the case may be, post it, so people know that, that you're doing something, that you cover that area. Or because real estate also, although as lenders, we're on a different side of things, but I know like realtors can be very territorial. Like, like they might not cover a specific area because maybe it's too far, or whatever. Yeah. And so people like
it's in general have
correct. And people have a misconception that like anything that pertains to real estate is like that. Like a lender will not cover a particular area because it's too far. Like I could care less. I'm behind a computer, doing numbers.
Well, I got two things for you. I got another acronym for you that Ed Stulak gave me. There's I think he's an Albanian guy, which was dope. TOMA, top of mind association. So
there you go.
TOMA, right? I always like that one. And then the other thing I was gonna say was that people, the reason I post what I post now, and I'm posting a little more personal stuff of things that I'm doing, and I want to make this very clear, is that I believe when you don't see yourself somewhere, you can't imagine yourself being there. And what I mean by that is that if I come from the South Bronx, I come from the hood, right? So I didn't know no landlords. I didn't know no homeowners. I grew up on 2800 Jerome Avenue. Like if you knew, you'd be like, oh shit.
I
Yeah,
know, yeah, I know
shit,
Jerome.
shit was real. You know what I'm saying? So like, how how did I get here? Well, I'll tell you, watch the stories, right? Because if you want to get there, I'm leaving out a very laid out blueprint of how it can go for you. And you don't have to accept the life that you've been given. You can change it.
Absolutely.
It'll take a lot of work, but that's something I truly believe in. And that's another reason for the documentation lately, because I want people to understand that brown people, black people, Asian people, all people, at the end of the day, green is the color that most people are concerned with. So if you know how to get green and how to apply and deploy what I call deploy capital well, then you can change your life. You can change your family's life. You can change your homeboy's life. You can change people that work for you. You can change their life. I had a guy, one of my guys who works for me in Orlando, hit me up on LinkedIn 2 years ago, was willing to take a processor job. And I was like, yo, I'm looking for processors. He's like, yo, I'll do whatever. Now, his background, he's a Marine. He did other types of sales, stuff like that. He came to meet me in the city. I met him. I was like, you know what? I'll give you a shot. And he's doing it, man. He's doing it. I'm changing his life. Like, I'm seeing him grow. Like, I'm seeing him make now 10,000 a month. Now, eventually, it'll be 20,000 a month, man. And I'm happy, right?
That's
I'm happy. And that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. Unfortunately, you meet people out there that will be happy to a certain point, and then the haterade kicks in. And I'm like, listen, man, it's not fun to be the richest guy. You want the whole team to win, so y'all could do stuff together. You know what I'm saying? Like, it becomes not just changing your life, it's changing families' lives. People, I'm members of certain clubs that my friends go to. They're like, oh, she's crazy. I'm like, yes, I'm used to it already. But I'm bringing my team in, right? I'm bringing them in, and changing their whole mindset, changing the chemicals in their brain of what's possible.
Dude, that's so from where I'm at, here from my point of view, like I'm really taking this as a almost like a, I guess like looking at it like, like, man, like this guy's like mentoring me right now. So now there we go. There you go, brother.
Everything.
So and so speaking of mentorship, and I know there's and I'm big on that too, the self accountability thing. However, do you have anyone that throughout these past years, these last 18, 20 years, has been sort of a mentor, someone you can rely on when you when there's people rely on you for advice? Maybe you have a person or two that you can kind of, go to when if you need, I guess a mentor, for lack of a better word.
That's a great question, because the answer is going to blow your mind. No, the answer is this. The answer is that I don't say this with any type of anger or any hostility. I was introduced to this industry because they needed me for access. What I took was, I was like, all right, I'm cool with that. I'll barter that to learn what's behind door number 2. And I'm not saying with anything, like I said, it just takes a lot of self-accountability to do this. Like, and it kind of goes into our business. We're only as good as our last deal, right? Like, people don't, if you don't do the deal, you suck. If you do the deal, you're great, but you gone after you close, you could drop a bottle of wine, whatever like that. Yeah, you gone. So no, but I think it also, it's such a fucking great question, because it opens up my mind to different conversation. I think that's what became the drive for me to push out on social media so much, because you might not know me, but I look like you.
Correct.
Right? And you're like, oh shit, he's doing it. Maybe it is possible. And then you hit me up on social media like, yo, can you mind doing a podcast with me? I was like, yo, let's do it. You don't ask, you don't get. You got it. And now here we are, right? Like, it's just that social media changed the game. So like back in the day, there was no social media, bro. We had to cold call. We'd be like, hello, Mr. Jones, and try to get your pitch off before they hung up on you. Like, that's the way things worked. I know it sounds crazy to some people, but that's really how it worked.
Yeah. No, and it is. I mean, so we're definitely blessed to be, in this particular. So again, so it's not so much you have a problem with mentorship. It's just that you didn't have it. But I see, because you're so open with what like you're so open about your experiences and how to just your overall, like, man, I don't see how anybody can like literally look at you and be like, yo, this, like you said, not only do you look like me, but just in general, man, like just the way you talk about what you do, the overall like demeanor and the passion that you project, like that. I mean, yo, that and like I said, I'm sure you wouldn't have any particular issue within the parameters of your time, to be like, if somebody needs to have a conversation with you, be like, hey, Lewis, how I'm struggling with this and that. Like, I'm sure your doors will be open, to helping a colleague out.
Listen, you're the greatest example of that, man. You hit me up, you saw the video, you commented
Yeah,
on the video, we went back and you're like, yo, you think you could do it? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And that's it, just happened to work out. I had the time. Of course, I'm not gonna have the time all the time, but if
correct,
you don't ask, you don't get, right? So yeah, and listen, I am you. I might be you in the future. It's really, I don't really believe that I'm some fucking special person that it only works. I work crazy. Let's just say that. I work like my wife pulls me off the pedestal. She's like, yo, relax. And I'm like, all right, I'm sorry. But I'm willing, I won't, like, I think Derek Jeter said it. I won't be outworked, right? Like, I might not have all the talent or the connections, but I'll work, right? I'll work, and somehow things line up for me. And somehow I knew that relationships were very important in this industry. So I built a lot of relationships, and that opened up more doors for me. And then as I start accumulating stuff, then people's perception of me starts to change. People that looked down on me before now see me as their equal, and now all of a sudden they're treating me different.
boom,
And listen, we can talk about not unbiased. I'm sorry, unconscious bias. We could talk about all, like, I have floor seats at the Nets. One day I'm walking into the Nets game, and
by the way, my
the kid.
condolences.
Thank you. We lost
My
everybody. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to renegotiate my contract. I might go to the Knicks now. No, but I'm walking in, and the guy's like, "Yo, are you a boxer?" And I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm a businessman. I'm not a boxer." My man who's with me is like, "Oh, that's crazy. That's unconscious bias." I'm like, "Who cares, bro? He's a little kid. I'm an older man. I'm 48. So, like, to me, a lot of kids are kids. I'm like, all right, it's whatever. It's whatever. But no, I'm just a business guy, the way you could be if you wanted to be.
Yeah, yeah.
But it just takes a lot of work, and sometimes, there's that saying that it's those dark nights and cold mornings, and sometimes you don't want to,
Yep.
but you have to. But you have to.
Yep.
Listen, I used to do. I'll give you a story. When I was doing resi deals, there was this one guy, a pilot, lived in Qatar.
Wow.
Qatar, right? He was buying a house in Miami, and he couldn't get the loan because they couldn't verify his employment. Right? You with me so far?
Yeah, I got you.
So you're in the business. So back in the day, all you need was an email from their employer or a VOE. So I set my clock up at 3 a.m. to call Qatar to get the email from the person we had to get the email from to close the deal. Two other guys weren't willing to do that.
That's crazy, bro.
It was what, a $15,000 fee, whatever the fee. It doesn't matter what the fee was, but that was my commitment to it. Like, if somebody referred you, yo, I got you. If I gotta wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, it is what it is, bro.
Oh my God.
It's just another Thursday for me. Like it's not a big deal.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
Just to give you an example of what will separate you from the rest of the people, what 99% of other people won't do.
No, there's I'm not sure you're familiar, but so I listen to a lot of different the different like little things here on YouTube, and one of the folks that I'm really really just really fascinated by is Earl Nightingale. And one of the things that he says is, you gotta be willing to pay the price, whatever the price is, to be successful at whatever it is that we are endeavoring. And we gotta be willing to pay the price. And if in one deal, or even if it's many deals, doesn't matter. You gotta wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning so you can get a VOE from Qatar. Okay, all right, then you gotta
I
get up
posted
in the
something the
morning.
other day. I wrote it was something similar, not exactly the same, but something similar. Basically, success has a price.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, and it's not a negative connotation, it's just, it is what it is. If you want to have a certain body, it takes discipline. You have to do what you got to do. And that's one of the things that's going up pretty soon. Like, you have to be accountable and say, yo, I want to change. And then you have to change the things that are got you to where you are now. The same way that if you hang out with certain people and you want to change your financial perspective, you got to get around other people. You know how many times I've had conversations with people, and I'm like, well, you're looking at it this way. What about this way? And she's like, oh shit, I never thought about that. You're right. Like, it could be that simple. It could be that simple. That was a conversation about a car payment. And I'm like, why do you want to put the money down if it's only $50 more a month? She was like, oh shit. I'm like to me, I'm like, what? And she's like, oh shit, I never thought about that. Because they're taught, right? Put a big down payment. I'm like, but it's $50 a month. I did the math for it. It's $600 a year more, but you're putting down $2,000 more. How does that work? It's a 3-year lease. You're still ahead at $1,800 in 3 years, over $2,000 down right now.
Does that? So, sorry to interrupt you. So, if my little sister, if you listen, because I know because she's one of my faithful, followers, subscribers. She calls me her financial advisor because even though I'm not a financial advisor by any means, but I used to work in the car business, and because I used to work in the car business specifically with F&I, like, man, I'm a very big, there's a lot of stuff out there, that people just but I don't want to get into the point is like it's true. Like people just think, oh, I'll put a bigger down payment, I'll save, so you
$20
go
a month.
so you telling me that you're gonna give up $1,000 out of your pocket to save $20 a month. Literally, before you make that $20, that $1,000 is 50 payments of $20. That's pretty much the entirety of the loan. Like, what do you like? What?
So
Like,
you're
what are
gonna
we
give
talking
this
about?
up.
Yeah,
You're gonna give this
exactly,
up that you
exactly.
can use for something else.
What are we
No,
talking
no. But
about?
that's another topic. That's financial literacy. Like I said, we were taught a certain way
Yeah,
for a long
yeah,
time. And I'm not saying it's totally wrong, but I'll say that it doesn't apply to certain things,
correct,
you
correct.
know? And
And like if anything else,
and
we spoke about taking things with a grain of salt. Like now, everything to the extreme is like it's not good, right? So like the Dave Ramsey of the world, where hey, he's like a very like no debt, whatever. Like no, bro, why would I? Like no, I'm not. Why would I? If I have $100,000 that I could go buy a car. You know what I could do with $100,000? You know what I could do with $100,000? You know what? If the payment's not gonna kill me, man, whatever, and I'm good. I could use that hundred, and it's just weird. Like not all debt is bad. Some debt is bad. Some debt is definitely bad. But not all debt is. But again, this is just so. But the financial literacy, and you mentioned something earlier that's extremely, 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 and I can't say enough, extremely important, especially en nuestra comunidad, bro. Like, for our people, like in our
yeah.
community, that financial, I mean, I think financial literacy is something that's lacking in all communities. But the truth is that those that even including myself who was raised here, that we've become a little bit more like Americanized, like we do have a little bit of a and then we do work in the industry as well, in the financial industry. Like we have a little bit of a head, of a lead, but the majority of our people don't, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm involved. You said earlier, that success is a price,
Mm-hmm.
but so does the lack thereof.
Ignorance is the price. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like everything, I mean, like yeah, being, I shouldn't talk about it, right? But although to my defense, I have been losing, weight. I have been losing weight, but like, yeah, getting in shape is, there's a price to it, but there's also a price for not being healthy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so every like this always it's just a matter of what you're willing to pay, which
Yeah.
you're leaning towards. But long story short, man, like I'm really glad that we had this conversation because, like, I can see that why you are, where you're at, and why you're just gonna continue to make strides. So, a couple of
Oh yeah,
things.
bro. It's gonna be some shit when I'm gone. It's gonna be some shit. They're gonna be like, wow, that guy was pop. Well, that's the point, right? The point is like
Yes,
I tell my son, I have 3 sons. 28. I don't know, how old are you?
I am 39.
All right, 28, 22, and 18. All very different people. So I speak to them very differently, but I explain to them that where I came from, and to them it's so foreign. My oldest son remembers because he came when I was 19, 20. he came and he understood, like he knew where we lived in the hood and stuff like that. My younger son's not so much. But they have to understand, like, and I go back to that statement I said before, it's their absolute fucking responsibility, their duty to take it farther. To take it farther. I say, yo, guys, I'll leave this. Whatever I leave for you. And you can keep building. You know, like not getting into too much of my personal stuff, but you know, I have life insurance policies covering my buildings. I have there's liquidity, there's like going back to you saying our people, sometimes our people leave a house, but the people that left behind don't have the financial literacy to understand what a mortgage is, or you know what you're taking care of the roof and depreciation, like all those things that come with home ownership. They just weren't trained. They don't understand. And unfortunately, some of them just don't make enough money, right, to be in that. So what I'm doing with my little life is that I'm trying to leave not just a legacy with things that I've built, but also when I'm gone, leave them with financial cushion that they don't have to lose it all, that they don't have to talk. I was talking to Adolfo Carrion. I know if you know who that is. He was the Bronx Borough president for many years. He worked with Obama. He was my podcast the first season. And, you know, we talk about being off center meaning off center because you're always working behind the bullet. You don't have enough money. So you never see shit for what it could be. You're always just trying to catch up, right? So you're always off balance. Now, I want to leave my family, and I'm doing it now. I want to have my family in a section where they're balanced and they can see things for what they are. Be grateful for where you're at, but understand, you know, what we're doing here. And I know they're like, yo, man, they're like, Dad, shut up. I'm like, but it is what it is. Understand. I said, yo, I said, if I had somebody like me when I was a kid,
yeah, dude.
yeah,
Oh,
I said,
God.
you know where we would be? I'd be with Elon. I said, I'd be with Elon hanging out with Bezos. I was like, come on.
You know.
But you know how it is. They have you, so not a big deal.
So you know, it's funny because I have three kids. I have my daughter who's yours, and I have two sons, 16 and 15. And I'm trying to get them. So again, now that I'm older, I'm trying to be a lot more, well, not trying to, I am being a lot more responsible from a financial standpoint, things like this. But because they're still young, like I'm trying to get them to like, so it's funny because I'm trying to get my son to, I don't know if you're familiar with Richard Thaler. So he's like economical behavior economics professor. And so I heard of him in the movie it's The Big Short, I believe. Right, he was like Selena Gomez at the casino. Like he was one explaining what, you know, synthetic CDOs or whatever. And the point is, and I'm like, yo, bro, yeah, no, bro. So now because you know, I got him a PS5. I'm like, yo, I got it. I know. I don't have an issue with you playing the damn thing, but I got you a book. Just, you know, what's a chapter a day, man? Like, you know,
Yeah.
oh man. But I mean, obviously, you know, my 16-year-old mind as well is like, that I really want to that I really want to that I really want to read, you know. But man, just not to take too much more of your time, man. So speaking of books and things like that and podcasts,
Well, real quick, speaking of books, The Ancient Hard Money is coming out in about 60 days, my book. And shameless plug here, we'll talk about it. The Ancient Hard Money.
Shamelessly plug it up.
The Ancient Hard Money. What books have I recently read? I just
would you recommend in general, like whether you recently read them or you read them, like what books would you recommend for anybody to read?
I think, all right, so I'm gonna give you 3 books that are very different because I believe everybody listens differently to different people.
Absolutely.
Like certain voices trigger certain things.
Absolutely.
I'm a big David Goggins fan, right? But I believe
that's you Can't Hurt Me, right?
Can't Hurt Me, and then still not finished. Still not finished the second book. I just finished.
I haven't read that one yet. Still not.
All right, still not finished. I think everybody should start with Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Right? And for the masters out there, and when I say masters, I mean people that have already immersed themselves in this life and really want to take control of their mind. The Master Key System.
That's Ryan Reynolds?
No, the Master Key System. You just took the author out of my mouth.
I'm sorry.
I know you just did that. Hold on, I look it up now. I caught a blank. The Master Key System is not a financial book. It's a book about controlling your mind, which I believe has helped me incredibly.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I think I have that book.
Charles Hannell.
Oh, yep.
That is not for the rookies. That is for the guys that are either really willing to put in the work and immerse themselves in something, but is not for the faint of heart.
That's a great book, man.
Yeah, and if you really dive into it, you can change your whole life.
So I actually started reading it, and then I remember that time. Now that I'm thinking about it, I sold my house, and then the move, like I just kind of the book is here somewhere, and I just kind of lost track of the book, and then I just I gotta go, I gotta finish these books for the year, and so you started reading another book, and then I just kept reading, and now that you mentioned it, like, oh wait a minute, because I do have that book, and I'm definitely gonna start. So I'm actually for the second time going through Think and Grow Rich. It's funny because I never heard of that book.
Have you read Think and Grow Rich, the Latino version?
I didn't even know. I honestly became familiar with that book maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I didn't even know that book existed.
Yeah, that book is awesome. That book is awesome. The Latino version is just people that have taken this principle and Latinos who applied it in their businesses.
Think and Grow Rich and Latino. Okay, that should be interesting. And then lastly, man, this is like honestly my favorite question I like to ask. So what's the one question that I didn't ask that you wish I would have? And how would you answer that question?
That's a great one.
And it could be about anything, man.
No, I think we keep it business and be like, where did you get your work ethic from? Right?
Boom.
And the answer would be through seeing my mother wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning, leaving the house at 6, coming back at 6 p.m., working at a supermarket, still cooking for the family, still trying to be a mother. And this is all before cell phones and all that. Like, I was a latchkey baby. I had to clock in, call, I'm home, and all that. Raised myself for basically most of my life. I think that is something people have to understand, not so much as it being a trauma or anything, but rather, where does the guy get his drive because he wants to have something better for his kids? He wants to be able to go, like, I don't know if you watch my stories. The other night I sponsored a basketball team my kid plays on, and I'm able to go there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not miss the whole thing, not turn around and he's 21 and not turn, not turn around and lose 2 years. Yeah. Because that to me is the secret sauce. I mean, that's the whole purpose, right? What are we doing this for?
Damn. I am by no means a Yankee fan, but respect, man. Respect. That was awesome, man. So, hey, man. So, if anybody wants to reach out to you, or I know you have your own, your own podcast, and you have just a plethora of different things, where you kind of doing outreach. What's the best way for people to reach you?
Instagram, asklewisomar.com. I have my website, asklewisomar.com. You can hit me there. Modi app. You can make an appointment to speak to me for free. LinkedIn. I mean, everywhere. We're everywhere. Like, that's the whole point. The whole point is to be everywhere and for people to see the journey and, again, to apply it to themselves. Not so much to say flex and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. It's like, yo, how do you do that? Right? Like, in whatever version, whatever scale you're at, how do you do that? Because that should be always the question. Yo, I'm stuck here. I want to get here. How do I do that? And if I give you enough like ideas, you'll figure it out. If you really want to, again.
Hey, man, listen, this has been an amazing conversation, man. I really can't thank you enough for taking your time to do this. And, just understand that I am going to keep bothering you here and there.
No, thanks for asking, and I'll let you know when I'm coming down to Mass. Like during the summer.
Absolutely. Yeah, let me know, because
something like that. I'll bring the camera and everything.
So I'm kind of like, believe it or not, even though I live in Mass, I'm probably about almost 2 hours away from, because I live on the complete on the
other side of Mass?
the other side of the state. And so but yeah, man, I would love to, just catch up with you and just, I don't know if you, whatever. I'll have a beer. You could.
Come out. Look, I'll meet you halfway. I'll come out an hour to you. Come out an hour to me. We'll have lunch.
We'll talk. So, and but honestly, man, I can't thank you enough for doing this. You are I and I know I don't need to, but I'll just continue to like encourage you, man, to continue to do what you're doing, man. Because honestly, for people like me who it's not so much that I need the motivation because I don't, right? I think I'm a pretty like self accountable guy, but it's nice to know that you like when I see your stories, when I see the things that you post, it's like I'm saying, ah, bro, pat myself in the back, just
For
just
real.
just
And
keep
remember, it's us. It's us, man. It's
boom.
all us. And that's the one thing I want people to understand that, man. It's all there's enough for everybody. I believe in the abundance mindset. And look at how you can be of value to other people before you ask for anything. That, that's another question, right? Like how people ask me, yo, how'd you get so successful? I was like, yo, because I give. I give with no expectation. I give, I give, I give. And then people feel like they gotta not copy, but rather reciprocate. They're like,
Gotta
yo,
match
I
that
don't want
energy. They gotta match that
I don't
energy.
want to be the only guy just taking, right? So that becomes the real big synergy where people start helping each other, perpetuating, and that's really the secret. Most people are always looking for their angle, and kind of going back to the story where somebody asked me to prospect for them. I saw my win-win. I said, hey, all right, you need this. You know what? Let me see what's over there. Let me learn that. So that'll be my win from this, and that's how I kind of did it.
Absolutely, man. Well, mi hermano, sending you a big hug, bro. Again, thank you for doing this, and we will continue to bond and grow, and thank you, man. I really can't thank you enough.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for asking me. It was an honor. I appreciate it. And we'll do some other stuff too.
You got it, my brother.
Be good.